Hello, namaste. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Vasanta, and here are the predictions for October of the year 2017. Just before the recording of this video, there was a notice on the news where the President of the United States went ahead and said that, he made a statement about being calm before the storm, where he met with all his military staff. So it is surprisingly accurate according to what we see towards the end of the month and the astrological configurations we're going to go through. There's very good news along in the month, and well, there's also very challenging configuration coming up, and throughout the end of the year we're going to be having a very challenging time, but nevertheless, I personally think it's going to be solved through peace and diplomacy. If you want to find out, I've put the predictions forward, so please follow me. Once again, thank you for being here, and thank you for watching. Namaste. So right off the bat, we start the month of October. We are still recovering from the past few months, which have been very, very challenging for the world in general. We had a bit of a break over the past few days, in regards to the intensity of what we've been going through, and this was because when Jupiter enters a new sign, he enters a period called the Pushkara. So that Pushkaram, that period of purity, was running, during these times, and that's why we got a bit of a break. And then we went into the bright half of the moon, and of course the bright half of the moon always brings forward, very, very positive things. It's the part where everything emotionally seems to be straightforward, and then in the dark half of the moon, that's where we go ahead and we deal with the more challenging or unconscious aspects of whatever has to be dealt in the mind and in the storage of the karma. And right now, as of the filming of this video, the full moon has just been present, and we have just gone into the dark side of the moon. And what this is going to mean is several things, and I'm going to be speaking about them during the transit of this video. The first thing that I want to talk about, the good news, is that the month of Kartik, the holy month in India, the sacred month, has started. So during the month of Kartik, people in India dedicate themselves to prayers. You will see that many, many people go to take baths in holy rivers, and they dedicate themselves to pilgrimage and to cultivate kindness, compassion, dharma, peace, and more than anything, their connection with the Supreme Lord. So during this month is a month where service and kindness and harmony are exalted. So the energies are very auspicious for this. If whatever tradition you belong to, please know that the energies of this month are very conducive for spiritual advancement. So any type of austerity that you want to make, or any type of offering that you want to make during this month, will help you advance spiritually very, very much. So right off the bat, we start the month with the fact that Mercury, the planet of intelligence and communications, is exalted. So this is really nice because over the past month we did have a Mercury retrograde along with other planets, and the configurations of the planets were very challenging. And for the first time in a while, we have an exalted planet coming up. So what you can expect from all of this is that organizations, methodologies, schedules, health, ecology, basically using intelligence to solve the problems of our everyday life are going to come forward, and they're going to be very, very favored. So technology in this month is going to be favored. Communication is going to be favored. Anything that has to do with dealing with employees will also be favored. Remember that Mercury exalts in Virgo, And in the natural zodiac, Virgo is equivalent to the 6th house. 6th house is the house of health, the house of legalities, the house of organization, the house of everyday work. So generally we're going to have a very good month for this, for putting everything together. So what you're going to see is that a lot of the things that you've been working in this very, very hard year are going to start coming together, especially during this month due to the presence of Mercury in Virgo. So Mercury exalts in Virgo until the 14th of October. So this is a very, very good time. You know, if you had any plans, you know, get a notebook, put your ideas on paper and get the ball rolling, because it's a very, very good and auspicious time to make plans and methods and to write things down on a step-by-step basis. Now, on the 9th of October, while Mercury is exalted, planet Venus, which is a very important planet right now, because remember that Jupiter is in Libra. So Libra is a sign ruled by Venus, so therefore the position of Venus is going to be very, very, very important during this whole year, because Venus, being the Lord of Libra, is going to be controlling a lot and influencing a lot of the, you know, of the energies that are going to be coming from Jupiter, especially when it comes to peacemaking and passing policies around the world. And what you're going to see, for example, is that in my last video where I was speaking about Jupiter in Libra and how the awareness of world peace would come forward, just a few days ago, yesterday, the day before, the Nobel Peace Prize was awarded to the nuclear contention, you know, people. So this is all Jupiter in Libra. So now in the 9th of November, Venus moves into a debilitated position. All planets have an exaltation point and debilitation point. So for example, planet Venus goes into an exaltation point when it's present in Pisces, and is debilitated when she goes into Virgo. So during this month in October on the 9th, Venus enters debilitated Virgo. So what does this gonna mean? So in the beginning, you know, it is going to be a very challenging position for Venus, because number one, she's going to be conjunct Mars there, and then she's going to be receiving an aspect from Saturn. So, and being debilitated, that could be a very, very challenging aspect. But what happens is two things. Thing number one is when Venus enters the sign of Virgo being debilitated, planet Mercury, who is the Lord of Virgo, is going to be there exalted. So this is called a Nicha Bhaga, so it attains upliftment from the debilitation. So Venus is going to be actually doing very, very well. Although Venus is a planet that is concerned with comfort, love, emotion, what Venus does when it is present in Virgo, it gets a little logical. So that's why it doesn't make sense, because, you know, love is not so much a dynamic of organization as it is a dynamic of feeling and emotion. And, you know, in a certain way, love is commitment. But when Venus goes into Virgo, she gets very logical. And that is, you know, that is an area that belongs more to planets like Saturn or Mercury. So Venus doesn't do very good in Virgo. But since Mercury is there, Mercury is going to be lording and helping Venus to understand. So it's like, you know, being very uncomfortable in a classroom or in a class that you don't understand, but having an excellent teacher that takes the time to explain, you know. So if you've ever been in a math lesson and it was very challenging for you to understand what was going on, you know, in arithmetic, or perhaps it was a language lesson where you had to learn a foreign language, or you had to learn to, you know, spell, etc., and it was hard for you, but then, you know, you had a very, very, very good teacher during that course that took the time and that completely dominated the theme. So that's what Mercury is going to do for Virgo, for Venus in Virgo. Mercury masters, he has a mastery in the area of Virgo, and he's going to be helping Venus to get out of, you know, the tough situation. And this happens on the 9th of October, so for most of the month, what you're going to notice is that Venus is going to be effectively present in Virgo. many people say that this is a very bad aspect and that there's going to be a lot of misunderstanding and that love is going to go down. But rather than that, what I'm seeing is that basically the world is going to be trying to reorganize itself when it comes to unions and when it comes to delimiting laws and limits. And during this time, the sanctions that are put forward to, countries that are rogue, and the way the world is going to be organizing, especially from the point of view of the United Nations. I think it's going to be very, very clear what policies the world is going to be adopting from now on. So that's what basically Venus is going to be. It's not going to be a very romantic period. And do remember that Venus is controlling Jupiter in Libra. So it's all gearing towards peace. During this month, what we're going to see is we're going to see the people that are representatives and the politicians doing a lot of paperwork and a lot of like talk and rhetoric in order to put the world back in order now. So, expect that economically you're going to hear a lot more about Bitcoin and a lot more of, when it comes to technology of the plans and the economical steps forward that big companies have. It's going to be a time where you're going to be very concerned about economy and where, your purchases are going to go down on the basis of you realizing that, you got to be cautious with your economy. So basically that's what it's going to mean. It's a planification period. So for that, even though Venus is going to be quite debilitated and it's going to be in a difficult position with Mars and Saturn, I think that in the end of the day, just because Mercury is there, it's going to turn out okay. I think Venus is going to come, in that sense, the month is going to be good. So then, on the 13th of October, planet Mars goes into Virgo, so we spoke about that. It's going to be conjunct with Venus there, and for a little while with the Sun. So that puts a lot of pressure on Venus, and it energizes Mercury. So expect to be super involved in organizing your life, getting your life back together. If you have problems, they're going to show up and you're going to have to adopt a schedule. More than anything is that, to do all the mechanical, systematic stuff that you got to put in place in order to keep your life together. So other months we have more of a time to think about what we would like to do, and in this month is what we have to do. So it's a very economical oriented month. Keep it very, very practical, and get ready to use a calculator and punch the numbers and see margins and all of that. So it is also a month of investment. So it's a month that, it's going to be very slow in the beginning, but then towards the end of the month, many of the things that we have been living through during this cycle or during this period are going to get solved. And you're going to feel that finally, things are moving forward. On the 14th of October, Mercury moves forward into Libra. And this is also very beautiful because while Venus enters, Mercury is going to be exalted in Virgo, and then Mercury, as he progresses towards the next sign of Libra, he is going to conjunct Jupiter there, so plus number 1. And then number 2, he's going to be creating something that in Vedic astrology we call Parivartana Yoga. And this Parivartana Yoga means that Mercury and Venus are exchanging signs. Remember that Venus being in Virgo is a sign owned by Mercury. And then Mercury is going to be in Libra, which is a sign owned by Venus. So they are exchanging signs, and that creates a good relationship. Remember that in the natural zodiac, and by the natural standing of planets, Venus and Mercury are friends. So this exchange in signs, it's going to work out really, really well, enhancing communication. Usually a Parivartana Yoga between those two planets takes Venus out of debilitation as well. So it's not that Venus is going to be in a very bad position during this month. More than anything, I think it's going to work out towards good organization for the planet of romance. So really don't expect it to be a very romantic month. But I think in the end of the day, you will see that this month is going to be very productive, and you'll be very, very glad that you had that chance to put things on paper and, things that are getting ready to be set in motion online so that we can, so there's a lot of reorganization going on. So perhaps, there's a new boss in your company, a new manager. Things need to be resolved when it comes to, you know, simplifying things, and when it comes to your economy. You know, pay very close attention on how you're going to be spending your money, because, you know, at the moment, things are not, there's no abundance that's about to come. So there's going to be a lot of organization, a lot of number work that is going to be going on during this month because of the presence of this Parivartana. So do remember that Mercury is a planet of intelligence, and when Mercury goes to Libra, intelligence and communication goes to diplomacy and peace, into trying to bring people to peace. I think things are going to go more in a non-violent way than in a violent way. The Sun goes into Libra, its sign of debilitation, on the 17th of October. So what this is going to do is it's going to calm down, you know, a lot of the fire that we were feeling last month. Especially last month, there was 3 planets in fire signs, and you know, that was incredibly tough, you know, especially Mars being there, and you know, Venus. But in this month, everything calms down, since it's a lot of air signs and earth signs. So Libra, being an air sign, is going to calm down a lot of the, you know, of the fire that we were feeling last month. You know, apart from this, we do have the presence of Jupiter there. So Jupiter, being the planet that brings us higher knowledge and higher wisdom, and being present in Libra conjunct the Sun, will put the world into more of a thoughtful state, not so much of an action-oriented state. Then towards the end of the month, on the 17th of October, Saturn, the planet that brings forward the karma, Saturn is going to enter once again a Gandanta. So for those of you who don't know what a Gandanta is, the last degrees of a water sign, the last degrees of Cancer, the last degrees of Scorpio, and the last degrees of Pisces, they're called a Gandanta. So it is the drowning point, or it's a point of storm. It's a knot. So the karmic knots of emotions are contained within the Gandantas. And so towards the end of this month, you know, starting from the 17th, and all the way until the 26th of October, which is when Saturn finally is going to enter Sagittarius, we're going to have a lot of cycles being closed emotionally. So during the past few months, and over the past 2.5 years, largely, Saturn has been in Scorpio, which is a very difficult position, because Scorpio is a sign of transformation and change. So what happens, Scorpio, if you see, there's 12 signs of the zodiac, and Libra is right in the middle. So Libra is where we make peace with, you know, with our nature as a human, and then we access the higher levels of humanity. And then after Libra comes Scorpio. And what Scorpio means is we realize that we have an inner world, and that we have emotions, and that those emotions are very powerful, and they can both be positive or negative. So when it comes to Scorpio, Scorpio is a part of ourselves that allows us to understand we have psychological resilience, and that we can overcome challenges by the power of our beliefs, by the power of our emotions, by the power of the way, you know, we think. So it's that determination that we find, but it's also the instinct of survival, that emotional instinct of survival. So what is happening here is actually, you know, very important karmically, because when Saturn goes anywhere, he makes it a point to remind us that we need to pay attention to that area of life, and that there is some karma that has to be dealt. So, you know, Scorpio is usually a very conflicted sign, because that's where we deal with what we are letting go from the past, and we welcome what is coming forth from the future. It gives tremendous strength out of all the signs. You know, Scorpio is one of the most spiritual ones. It's one of the ones that opens the most strength within oneself, and it gives us the power to, you know, basically sometimes deal with life alone. So Saturn being in Scorpio has allowed us to understand that challenges are there and challenges must be faced. And it has given us the confidence and the power to deal with um, problems that perhaps we never thought we were going to have before. So it is a very painful process. Remember that in the natural zodiac, the house of Scorpio is the house 8, and the house 8 deals with death and closing of cycles. So what you're going to see is that, again, we're going to have natural disasters. There's going to be stuff happening. And that is going to bring forward the closure of cycles. So at the moment, things have been closed. It's probably the toughest year that I've lived in. As an astrologer making predictions, this was a very tough year. All 2017 has been a very tough year. It's almost like every month we are giving, very tough news to people. But this is about to end, and we're about to enter a whole new cycle of very interesting things coming up. I think the world is going to reorganize with this entering of Saturn forward to Sagittarius, and so I'll discuss that in a minute. But at the moment when Saturn is closing Scorpio, what is happening is we're really letting go of all the people that we no longer need in our life, and we are saying thank you for the teachings that they have brought forward in our life. We are also learning to let go parts of ourselves that no longer are there serving us in our higher purpose or guiding us towards our highest purpose. Now, naturally, this happens through conflict, so people criticizing you or people not being, in accordance with what you think, is the right way. Especially if you have the sun or the moon in Scorpio. For example, the President of the United States, he has his moon in Scorpio, we know that. And so, he has been through a very tough, challenging time. And now, when Saturn goes again into the Gandanta, he's again going to go through a very, very big test emotionally. If you see, he's lost, pretty much half of his cabinet. And he had to tolerate that and rebuild himself from what he expected his presidency was going to be. So it's been a little bit like that for all of us in any level. That there's a lot of people that went, and there's a lot that, a lot new that we had to deal with. And it has to do with personal strength, psychological strength, and spiritual strength. So it has to do with restraint and finding in oneself the capacity to go forward no matter the odds. So gladly that is going to come to an end, but not without a final teaching or a final exam or a final lesson of Saturn in Scorpio. So it's going to have to do with armed conflicts and the way that we're going to deal with, with the exercises of power to make people feel safe. So that is still something we have to deal with. It will also have to do with opposing points of view regarding the way that the world is run. And it will also have to be with becoming determined in advancing in this life towards a state of love and peace. So what we're going to find out is that suffering is not a good thing, and that we have to choose, something better for ourselves. So towards the end of this month, we're going to be going through that. So it is going to be the last test. And that's where we're going to know, if there's going to be a war or not in the world, depending on whether we pass the test that Saturn is putting forward. My personal view on it is that certainly due to the presence of Jupiter in Libra, we are probably going to pass the test and everything is going to be, just fine. Nevertheless, there, since it's storms, the Gandantas mean storms or karmic knots, there's going to be a lot of emotion in the air. So there might be, almost for sure, there will be a very regretful event that is going to happen in the world. And we're going to have to figure out how to deal and how to respond to that event. It's going to be unfortunate. And it's going to be, the world, I think, is going to go into shock when it happens. but nevertheless the results, are going to be good, because we're going to understand that we need to take certain steps to get into peace. So that final change that the world had to be aware of, and that final change that needed to happen, is going to happen during the end of October. Finally, on the 26th of October, Saturn finally moves into Sagittarius. And this opens a whole new bag of, a whole new box of surprises, because Sagittarius is the most philosophical sign of them all, and this is where in the zodiac we find the wisdom to take spiritual actions. So actually it is a very spirited sign. It originally belongs to Jupiter, which in the first year of Saturn being in Sagittarius is going to be fantastic, because it's going to be everything by the control of Jupiter is going to be a gear towards peace and harmony and dialogue. What happen is that you're going to start seeing an increased awareness of other types of consciousness in the universe, of other philosophies. So the first thing that you can expect is that political views of the world are going to polarize a lot with the presence of Saturn in Sagittarius, where the people in power, and they are just representing the consciousness of the world, really, are going to put forward very clear models of the way they think the world should be run. So the world will polarize. The second thing that you can expect during this time is that religious leaders are going to gain strength. So religious philosophies around the world are going to gain strength. The polarization has to go on. So what you're going to see is that the test is going to be, how can we live together, and what do our philosophies have in common? Then the third thing that we're going to see with Saturn in Sagittarius is the presence of artificial intelligence in the lives of people, and all the question that that's going to bring forward. The world is going to realize that robots, they're beginning to get smart, and people are going to go philosophical about it. What are the implications? Do robots have soul and all of that? Because I think we, during this time of 2.5 years of Saturn present in Sagittarius, especially because Jupiter is in an air sign controlling it, I think that artificial intelligence is going to give a leap forward, like a huge leap forward. You're going to start hearing concerns of people regarding artificial intelligence and the implications that this may have. And the other thing that you're going to start hearing is that we're going to venture into other planets. That's going to start happening, interplanetary travel, and perhaps there's a lot going to be talked about, the fact that, of course, as human beings, we are not the only race in the universe, and that, there's going to be a boom in understanding philosophy. I think the world is going to be forced to understand that if we want to get anywhere, we have to live on the basis of values that are good for us. So all of this is going to come forward. It's not going to be a period where life is going to be easy, because Sagittarius moves humanity forward, and the job of Saturn is to teach very important lessons to move humanity forward. So it is going to be a long process where Saturn in Sagittarius is going to be teaching us why. Why do we do what we do, and why we have to make an effort to value our life and to value the opportunity that we have as human beings. Now, throughout this time, we have been given the wonderful chance to have a lot of fun and a lot of free time in the world. But now, those things are about to change. It's about to get a lot more existential. It's a lot to get, the world is about to get very different, very accelerated. And, all in all, it's going to be a very, very different ballgame. And that's going to change. Humanity's way of thinking, it's almost like we're entering a new age. Just like when we had the boom of the internet and that made a very big difference. These are the times that we're going through now. So get ready, prepare, and remember that the best thing that you can do is remember, try to remember why have you come to human life, and try to value the opportunity that you have. Try to realize that we're here to serve, that is our maximum potential, and that the best way of serving is through love and affection. So from my side, this is all. Namaste, I honor the divine in you, and Radhe Radhe, may the goddess of love reign in your heart. May this month of Kartik bring you spiritual realization, peace to your heart, and those around you. Thank you for watching. My new website is up, so if you would like to know what your Dharma Code is, which one is the value that you embody out of purity, truth, discipline, or kindness, you can go to my website and you can do the test for free. There's a free tester there. So I invite you to do it. It will help you a lot. Also, if you are doing any type of branding, if you're a YouTuber and you do branding, you're going to get a beautiful booklet along with your tester that guides you through the process of, getting the basics of your brand done, such as, to understand what are your aspirations as a brand and what are the aspirations of the people looking for you. So everything it's a marketing system that allows you to know yourself, very deeply, and it's all for free. I'm giving one of the 4 booklets depending on what you score in the tester. So it's there on the link on the website. I wish you a wonderful month, and thank you for watching.